If you have lower back pain, hip pain, and even knee or neck and shoulder pain, you may have a problem with your lower abdominal activation. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what that is, how it's connected to these other aches and pains, and a super simple 10-second exercise that you can do during your day that's going to help you reconnect to those muscles. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the founder and principal therapist at LSM Clinic. In this channel, I share simple self-care tips and information about how the body works so that you can live and enjoy your favorite activities as close to pain-free as possible. So first of all, in case you're not familiar with activation is basically just when you contract a muscle. So for example, if I were to try and contract my bicep, that's activating my bicep, right? My brain is connecting to the muscle and getting it to contract. Activation and strength are different things. Some people also call it recruitment, and that's your brain can connect to the muscle and also knows when to use the muscle in certain movements. Now, I explain what activation is in more detail in the first of this series, which is the muscle activation series. And I've already spoken as well about glute activation, which is super common. Over the last 10 years of working with clients, we've found that there are a handful of muscles that don't activate and are major components in aches and pains that people get in their muscles and their joints. So that's why I created this series. If you have muscles that aren't doing their job, you're going to have other muscles that are overworking to compensate, right? And we can massage those overworked muscles as much as we want, but if we don't get to the bottom of why those muscles are overworking in the first place, eventually the body just stops responding. Like we've had clients early on, before I figured this out, where they would have chronically tight back, and at first the massage would release the back muscles, but over time the back stopped responding to the massage until we found the underlying cause of the problem. And then once we addressed the underlying reason the back got tight, the back started responding again and stayed better for longer. So this means if you have been getting massages and your massage therapist is having trouble releasing certain muscles, like they won't give, and they're having to try different and more elaborate ways to get the muscles to release, it's probably because you're not addressing the underlying cause, which actually should be a video in and of itself. So we might have that for another time. But with lower abdominal activation, the job of our lower abdominals, so let's just quickly define the lower abdominals. The lower abdominals sit underneath your belly button and between your hip bones. So you've got those like sticky out points in the front of the hip. If you put your hands there under your belly button and between your hip bones, that's basically where your lower abdominals sit. Now, it is also where a lot of us have some additional layers of fat or adipose tissue. So it can sometimes be hard to touch them if you've got a few layers. I mean, I have a few layers after having a couple kids, but you still can, right? You just have to kind of push in a little bit and you'll still be able to feel the change through any layers that you have on your lower abdominals. Now, there are a lot of reasons that lower abdominals seem to not activate. Now, I say seem to because we can't really be sure why the brain stops using muscles. I have a theory about it, which I'm going to do another video on. But the truth is, we can't ask the body, why have you stopped activating my abs? Why have you stopped activating my glutes? Most likely, it's something like, we haven't used them for a while, so the brain thinks, oh, I'll just save some energy and not use these anymore. And then when you do need them, you've kind of lost that connection. So our lower abdominals do a really important job of supporting our torso, right? So that we can relax our shoulders and our neck on our body and not have to carry ourselves around. And it helps to lift the torso up out of the pelvis. And so if we're not activating our abs, if they're not kind of holding ourselves together with just a little bit of tone, we will sink into our hips, and that can put pressure on the hips, it can put pressure on the knees, and sometimes even down further in the leg. Our lower abdominals are also supposed to be helping our lower back, right? So if you think of the area between your ribs and your pelvis as kind of like a round circular support system, the back helps, but it needs support from the front. And if you don't have that support from the front, the lower back is having to do all the work. So not having activated abs is a very common reason for your lower back to have pain or aches. If your abs aren't activating, what will also happen is that your body, because it knows it doesn't want to sink down in, you'll start to lift up your shoulders, and that will create neck and shoulder pain. That's how a lack of abdominal activation can give you lower back pain, hip pain, knee pain, neck and shoulder pain, right? It can be a factor in all of those things. It's very central to our body. So how do you activate it, right? So the first thing you want to do is test. Is it contracting? Is the whole thing contracting? Or is only part of it contracting, right? And you can usually tell if a muscle is contracting because it gets harder than when it's soft, unless you have super tight muscles, right? And sometimes when you have super tight muscles, it's actually hard for your muscle to contract because it has nowhere to go because it's already so short. But to give you the example of bicep again, so when my bicep is relaxed, I can push and it feels softer. It's pretty squishy. And then when I try to contract it, it's hard. So I can feel that difference. So you can try that with your bicep if you want to, just so you can feel the difference. Obviously, it's going to feel different in your abs because your abs should be getting flat when you contract them, whereas the bicep or the quad or the hamstring will kind of come out a little bit. So the way I think it's helpful to visualize activating your abs is like this. The fibers are coming in together. So the most common mistake people make when they're trying to activate their abs is they push out, right? So they bear down and then the stomach comes out, the abdomen comes out. That's not what you want. You want it to kind of come in just a little bit, okay? So when I'm talking about abdominal activation or any muscle activation, I'm usually saying just 10%. Because we just want to stimulate it to support you a little bit, right? We don't want to wear out the muscle. We don't want to overuse it. And we don't want to make you so stiff that you can't move. Because if you were to contract your abdominals at 100% and walk around like that, you wouldn't have very much mobility. So what you can do is you can try to suck your abs in. So you can imagine pulling your belly button into your back. You can have your hands below the belly button and between the hip bones to feel if it's contracting. Now, if you're like a lot of people we see, you're going to be able to activate your upper abs. So from the bottom of the rib cage to the belly button is going to be really easy for you to suck in and to move and to activate, right? But you might find that when you put your hands on your lower abdominals, you're not feeling very much, if anything. So what you can do is when you try to suck in your stomach to your back and you might feel your pelvic floor come in, that's totally normal and good. Push your finger onto that and see if you can feel where it feels hard. Now, it may be easier to do this lying down than sitting because, you know, when you sit, everything kind of gets squished together. So you can either pause and lay down and do it as I talk, or you can just watch this and then try it afterwards. You put your hands on your lower abdominals underneath your belly button and between your hip bones and try to suck your stomach into your back. Now, if you want to, you can do it as hard as you can just to see what that feels like and then come out to what feels like 10%. So about 1/10 of your full force, or you can just try and contract it a little bit. Now, for me, after I had my second child, I had a cesarean. I really couldn't contract. There was like one little circle on the left of my lower abdominals that I just couldn't get for a really long time until I had some scar work done that helped to release it. And I've actually seen a lot of women post-pregnancy where they have that. Oh, that reminds me, side note, this should be safe for everyone, but if you have diastasis recti or any sort of tears in your abdomen, you probably want to run through this with your healthcare provider. If you want to work on your abdominal activation, just to make sure that it's safe, and just do it gently. And there should be no pain when you're doing this at all. So when you try to suck in your abdominals, use your hands to feel. Has the muscle gotten harder? Does it feel like some areas are harder and others aren't? Or are you only feeling your upper abs activate and not your lower abs? Those are all really common, right? It's really common to not get any activation at all. It's really common to have areas that aren't activating. So if you've watched my glute activation video, you might know where I'm going with this, because if you're not activating, you can tap the muscle. Now, tapping is this, okay? We're not slamming our hand into our muscle. Oh, that even hurt my knuckles. We're not slamming them in, and we're also not doing it so lightly that it's just going on the skin, right? So we're gonna do about this. So once you've done that, tap. I'm gonna tap on my abs right now, even though you can't see it. And then put your hands back on your abs, your lower abs, underneath your belly button and between your hip bones. And then try and pull them in. And you might notice that it's easier, right? Or that you can connect a little bit more. The way that you rebuild your connection with your abs is you just try and do this a few times a day. So you can do it when you're sitting. This is really, really great for your posture. We have a free desk posture checklist that you can get that will help you line up. And when you're sitting in that good posture, I'll put the link below for the desk posture checklist. When you're sitting in that posture, you can put your fingers in your abdomen and just activate them like 10% and feel how they're activating. If they don't activate at all, don't worry. It's totally fine. Practicing this, even without getting a reaction initially, will help you to slowly rebuild your connection with your body. It's totally fine for it to go slow. It's totally fine for it to take a while. It's probably been a while since it's been done. Now, lower abdominal activation is something we can help with at the clinic. For some reason, there's a certain way that we can massage the muscle that seems to help it contract. We can also help you tap. We can also release. Sometimes releasing the muscle makes it better, makes it easier to contract. What we found is that some people who have like IBS or digestive problems, it's like because the bloating like pushes the abs out. The abs can be out, but also somehow tight. And so if we release the abdominal muscles gently, obviously, we don't do deep pressure on the abdomen, it allows it to activate a little bit more and get a little bit more support. So try this tip, see how it feels, see if you can connect. Feel free to leave a comment below if you're not sure. And just start practicing so you can get those abs activated. I'll go through that just one more time, just like a quick summary. But before I do, if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like it. And if you could subscribe to our channel if you're not already, so you're notified as and when we release more videos. And if you know anyone who has lower back pain or neck and shoulder pain or hip pain, if you could forward them this video so that they could start activating their abs too, that would be amazing, right? Because our mission is to help get rid of as much pain in the world as possible. So last time, the way that you activate your abs, put your hands beneath your belly button, between your hips. Imagine that you're sucking your belly button into your back, or like you're trying to zip up a tight pair of jeans. Make sure that you're not pushing out. Your abdomen shouldn't come out, it should come in. And you'll probably feel your pelvic floor get involved as well. That's perfect. If you want more help with this, in our neck and shoulder pain course for desk workers, no pain at work, I do have 2 exercises for the lower abdominals because they're very important for our neck and shoulders. So if you have the course, then you can go and check out those videos for lower abdominals to get some more help with it. If you don't have the course, I'll put the link below as well. You can get that with a couple of massages or just on its own. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you want to see the next video, I'll link it when it's ready. I'm doing the mid and upper traps. But in the meantime, definitely try this tip and let me know how you go. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.